friends, welcome to Scholars Current Affairs classes. In this class, we will be covering top current affairs articles that are important for both prelims and mains perspective. These articles are covered from various sources like The Hindu, Indian Express, PIB, LiveMint, etc. Log on to scholar.in or download Scholar Android app for free current affairs articles, monthly magazine, and gist of magazines like Yojana, Gurukshetra, test series, classes, mind maps, and much more. Scholar is a one-stop platform for all your civil service exam preparation. In today's class, we will be covering three important articles. One is about Article 32 of the Indian Constitution, another about water governance in India, and lastly about GST reforms that is required in India. Let's start with our first article. It's about Article 32 of the Supreme Court. So this is important from GS paper 2 point of view and also for prelims. Every year, various number of questions are asked from polity. So a question can be asked from this article itself. So why this is in news? Because this recently a Supreme Court bench observed that it is trying to discourage individuals from filing petitions under Article 32 of the Constitution. Now let's understand what is Article 32. Article 32 is a fundamental right. It deals with the right to constitutional remedies. It is the heart and soul of the entire fundamental rights that is in our Indian Constitution. This article affirms that right to move to any citizen to Supreme Court by appropriate proceedings for the enforcement of the rights conferred in the Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. This article gives right to every citizen of India to move to the Supreme Court if he or she has not been confirmed with the fundamental rights that are provided under the Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. So along with Article 32, other fundamental rights that are in Indian Constitution are right to equality, right to freedom of free speech and expression, right of life and personal liberty, and right to freedom of religion. The right guaranteed under the Article 32 cannot be suspected at all, except under two provisions. One is provided by the Constitution itself. If the Constitution is amended, and during the emergency period, this Article 32 gets suspended. The drafting committee of the Constitution Assembly described this right as a right fundamental to all the fundamental rights, because without this Article 32, no other right, it's useless, right? The Constitution has given you right, but when you're deprived that right, if you don't have the proper measures to enforce them, then what is the point of giving all the right? So all this right is dependent on the one right, that is Article 32, that is right to constitutional remedies. Article 32 also confirms some power to the SC. What are those powers? That is, it confirms powers to Supreme Court to issue writs. It confirms the 5 writs in Indian Constitution. One is habeas corpus. It is related to a personal liberty in case of illegal detentions and wrongful arrest. If a person is detained or he is arrested, if a court orders, he has to be presented in the court by the police. Next one is mandamus. It directs the public officials, governments or courts to perform a statutory duty, that is duty which is set by the law. Next is quo warranto, to show by what warrant a person is holding a office. It asks the particular public official or a government official to show by what warrant, on what basis he or she is holding that particular office. Next is prohibition. In this, it directs the judicial or quasi-judicial authorities to stop proceedings in which it has no jurisdiction. Okay, suppose a quasi-judicial authority like National Green Tribunal or lower courts, if they are doing any proceedings which are not in its jurisdiction, the Supreme Court or Supreme Court can direct that authority to stop proceedings in that matter. Next one is surety. It asks for the re-examination of the order given by judicial, quasi-judicial, and administrative authorities. It gives the power to Supreme Court to re-examine the order given by other judicial bodies, quasi-judicial bodies, or administrative authorities. Let's move on. Uh, under about the Article 32, the Supreme Court has made several observations. Okay. Under various cases, the Supreme Court has directed the petitioners to approach the High Court first. Okay. Then come to the, if they are unsatisfied with the High Court decision, then they can further appeal to the Supreme Court. It is also directed the respective high courts to expedite the case approach under the Article 32. In many cases, it has asked the High Court to speed up the cases under which are approached under the Article 32. However, in one of the 1950s case, the Supreme Court also observed that Supreme Court is a protector and guarantor of the fundamental right. So it cannot consistently refuse to entertain applications seeking protection against infringement of such fundamental rights. So basically, on the one hand, Supreme Court tells that first you approach the High Court, then you come to the Supreme Court. It is also directed High Court to expedite the cases under the Article 32. But it also said that it cannot consistently refuse to entertain application because it's one of the duty of the Supreme Court to protect and guarantee the fundamental rights that is enshrined in our Constitution. But however, the SC, that is Supreme Court, has discretion to decide on the necessity of its intervention before the High Court in the case or not. This intervention decision is completely based on the Supreme Court's discretionary power. Now let's move on to our next article. It's about water governance. There are many bills related to water that are pending in the Parliament. Among them, two bills has been passed by the Lok Sabha and now they are waiting for the approval from the Rajya Sabha in the next monsoon session. Those two bills are, one is the Interstate River Dispute Amendments Bill 2019. This bill aims to improve the interstate water dispute resolution by setting a permanent tribunal supported by deliberative mechanism and the dispute resolution committee. Till now, what happens is under Article 262, the central government used to, set up an ad hoc tribunal to solve the water disputes. But under this act now, a permanent water tribunal will be set up with a deliberate mechanism and institution to resolve the dispute with related to interstate water disputes. Another one bill is the Dam Safety Bill 2019. The bill deals with the risk of aging dams in India with the help of comprehensive federal structure, that is center-state relation, federal institutional framework comprising committees and authority for dam safety at the national and state level. So there are also other pending bills which are of similar institutional structure and processes also. Now let's move on. Why there is a need for center-state coordination with related to water governance in India? There are many concerns that are of long-term national water security and sustainable issue, such as risk of climate change, environmental challenges like river pollution. All these challenges need a systematic federal response with center and state working in partnership mode. For example, like in GST Council. Okay. So it is also crucial for pursuing the current national projects such as like Ganga River Regeneration Project, like Namami Gange, inland water navigation, and interbasin transfer or interlinking of the rivers. While water governance is generally seen as state's domain, although union has power under the interstate water governance system. Okay. But the center's role is largely limited to resolving the interstate river dispute, that too by setting up a tribunal and their adjudication. That's it. Okay, but so now India is ill-equipped to address the governance of increasingly federal federalized water to pursue its development and sustainable goals. Although water is in state list, but there are lots of issues that require center and state and among state coordination to solve this issue. Some complex issues like water pollution and climate change, all this required a holistic approach. And our country is ill equipped to address these issues. Both the bills, that is, as I said in this one, that is interstate river dispute bill and dam safety bill, propose institutional mechanism and processes that requires closer center state coordination and deliberation. Okay, the dispute resolution mechanism in the interstate water dispute amendment bill and the dam safety authority rely on active center state participation. Without active center state participation, these two bill will take a backseat. Now let's move on to another. It's about Jal. It's in the same article. It's about Jal Jeevan Mission. Recently, not recently, in from past 1 year, the central has announced a centrally sponsored scheme, that is Jal Jeevan Mission, where both center and state government are going to invest massive amount. It's about 3.5 lakh crore rupees in next 5 years to achieve the universal access to safe and secure drinking in water areas. This amount will be invested by both central government and state government, but the majority funding will come from the central government. Okay, so as it is the drinking water supply is the state subject, you know, these states are equipped with institutional channels for this purpose. To provide the water drinking water supply, it has got the institutional channel. So this mission, that is Jal Jeevan Mission, has to build on this structure for better outcomes, and states have to maintain the assets and facilities created through this mission. Whatever the assets, like pipes, drainage system, all these assets that are created under this mission have to be maintained by the state governments. So states also need support, that is mainly financial and other support, to strengthen their institution and improve the delivery of the essential to its population. Basically, under the Jal Jeevan Mission, both center and state have to coordinate for the better outcomes. Okay, so under this scheme, provide an opportunity for development of stronger central state coordination and federal water governance ecosystem beyond the scheme mandate. Even after the scheme mandate, it provides an opportunity for both center and state to work. In the previous slide, we saw that why the center state coordination is required in the water security and sustainability of the water governance in India. In this slide, we are talking about the Jal Jeevan Mission, how it can provide an opportunity for center and state to coordinate and in the federal water governance ecosystem in India. Okay. What the way forward tells is that the outline of center state partnership can be discussed for the success of about two bills, that is this one interstate water dispute bill and the dam safety bill of 2019. Okay, so and the success of two bills depend mostly on robust federal water governance ecosystem in India. The ideal distribution of responsibilities and partnership building between center and state to go long water security goal can be considered. This can also be considered. Okay. For example, the center can work with state for credible institutional architecture to gather data about water resources, and this is important, very much important for the federal water governance challenges, like for to with regard to climate change issues, with regard to water pollution, with regard to interstate water dispute. The gathering of data is very important, and there is institutional architecture is required for that. So center can work with state for this purpose also. Let's move on to our next article. It's about GST reforms. This article is from LiveMate, and this is important for GS paper 3 and also for prelims point of view also. So goods and service tax, that is GST, is aimed at moving India into the next phase of economic growth. Okay, this GST reforms came in 2017. It has been implemented since then. And the GST has shown to the world that India is determined and very much serious about taking bold reformative fiscal steps. and also to improve India's ease of doing business. The GST investigates the one nation one tax, and this has led to efficient tax collection system, minimal revenue leakages, and easy interstate movement of goods and services. But there are some challenges. Every reform has got its own challenges. Likewise, GST reforms also got its own challenges. Let's see what are the challenges. India has four GST slabs in it. Okay, so there can be a question in a statement which can tell that India, how many, India has four GST slabs or India has three GST slabs. In this point, these points are important from prelims point of view. Okay, so since it has got four GST slab, it makes it complex and also provides scope for vested interest to lobby to the government. Okay, let's see how it makes complex and how it vested interest can play here. Okay, and we'll see it further. Before that, we also understand what are the other challenges. Okay, products like alcohol, petrol, diesel have been kept out of the ambit of GST because to avoid the revenue loss, but for both central and state governments. So during the pandemic, there was a decline in the crude oil prices. But despite that decline, the customer didn't get the benefit because the government wanted to strengthen its fiscal position. Currently, the tax on petrol is an average of 45 to 50%, and on diesel it's about 35 to 40% of taxes levied on petrol and diesel respectively. So why there are four GST slabs in India? It is because products of necessary and luxury cannot be clubbed together as it would have no adverse impact on welfare of common man. See, the tax on milk and the luxury products like car cannot be the same, right? Because if it is both the same, the milk is consumed by the common man. It will affect the welfare of the common mass as well. Okay, so and there are four slabs because to get these states on board to the new GST structure. Before passing the GST law, it was required by the constitution to get the approval from at least half of the state, right? Half of the state governments. So to get state governments on the board, there are four GST labs in India. Let's see what are the solutions for these issues. One is the Niti Aayog has recommended there should be two tax slabs to ensure necessity products are not taxed exorbitantly while luxury products are taxed at higher rates. For example, necessities like milk, food, medicines are not taxed exorbitantly while luxury products like jewelry and other sin goods like tobacco, alcohol are taxed high. So international best practices shows that majority of countries have single slab, single that is one GST slab, while 28 countries have dual slab, that is two slabs. And placing the petrol and diesel under the GST structure would bring down the prices. That is currently there are like has been so 45 to 50% of tax is levied. If it is bought under the GST, maximum of 28% tax can be levied. So when tax is reduced, the price will also reduce, and this will lead to higher demand. Okay, when there is higher demand, there will be more consumption. So when there is more consumption, this would lead to again increase in the tax collection, and this will also ensure higher profits for the oil marketing companies like Indian Oil Corporation, BPCL, HP Petrol, etc. And the negative impact, that is, despite the increased tax, there will be some shortfall, right? And this shortfall can be further compensated by increasing the corporate tax collected from the dividends of the public sector units. In India, the oil marketing companies all are PSUs. Most of the oil marketing companies are PSUs. So by increasing the corporate tax collection, this can be further compensated. Okay, this is the one solution. There is another issue, that is frequent GST tax reshuffling. So the GST council meet frequently. Okay, and this closely monitor the implementation of GST, and also they consistently take inputs from the industry. This is one good thing. Okay, but what happens is that because of frequent GST council meeting, there is a frequent reshuffling of products under different slabs by the council, and this further complicate the structure of the GST. What happens is, in last up until today, the take certain products, for example, like electronics are in 12% tax slab. In the next meeting, it will be reshuffled to the 18% tax slab. Again, it will bought back to 12% tax slab. This creates complexity, and also it creates confusion in the market. And because of the frequent reshuffling, it will also lead to frequent requests for reduction in the rates, raised by the scope of lobbyists, adding political pressure around it. Many lobbyists again request for the frequent reduction of the GST rates, and this will add further political pressure, or this can also be a peer pressure also. So this frequent lobbying, these issues defeats the purpose of the tax reforms itself, bringing the it will reduce the transparency in the system, and the purpose of the GST is to increase the transparency and minimum corruption, and this will be defeated, and the scope of manipulation will be increased. So the GST Council should focus on increasing the tax collection rather than repeatedly tinkering the GST rates. So that's it, friends. Thank you. Thank you for watching today's class. Stay tuned to Scholars YouTube channel and Facebook page for further updates. So rise up, start fresh, and see bright opportunity in each day. Okay. With this, have a great day.